flight. And I was its emblem, the eagle. Taking on the strengths of other countries as it enveloped them, the Roman Empire spread out over most of the known world, stretching as far as the wild northern island that the Romans called Britannia. And there, on the orders of Emperor Hadrian, a line was drawn in the form of a wall that was to separate his empire from the barbarians beyond its borders. For the soldiers of Rome who traveled on the Maiden Road to man the border, this wall was the frontier that marked the edge of their world. Each of these men had had stories of ferocious lands and deadly conditions, but nothing could have prepared them for life on the wall. For this was the edge of empire.
First day at the wall, and I'm worn out just watching. Things are tough out here, and it's just the training. Our boys are more likely to die like this than in battle. But these men are legionaries, the best of the best. Centurion wants to show us auxiliaries how real soldiers operate. And this is what we've come to see. This is a testudo, like a tortoise. The nasty little Brits mostly ride on horseback, but if our legionaries keep their shields tight and get in close, they're invincible.
This was one of the most brutal training regimes in military history, and the result was an army always ready to protect its frontier. Upon arrival from the Maiden Road, life as a soldier began at the mighty fort of Magna, a heavily fortified garrison built in the mid-AD 80s, some 40 years before work on the nearby wall began. You see Magna here in its prime, as I prefer to remember it. But the centuries pass by in the blink of an eye. And this is all that now remains. Just meters away from where the huge fort of Magna once stood, you will now find the present-day Roman Army Museum. As we fly east from Magna, we climb up and down the 9 nicks of Thirlwall and begin our journey along Hadrian's Wall. Here, along the peaks, the wall would have originally stood some 6 meters high. Its evenly placed mile castles, turrets, ditches, and forts created a very efficient customs post, a hub of trade. But it was also a barrier to a more savage land, a barrier that required protection. Up ahead on the peak, lie the remains of Mucklebank Turret, a very precarious location to build a watchtower. Soldiers could expect a long haul, keeping watch over the heavily wooded lands to the north.
Turret duty. Dull as mud. We've all got to do it. That doesn't mean we have to like it. Still, took a chance to catch up on some correspondence with an old messmate. I've sent you 2 pairs of socks and 2 pairs of sandals. That's good of him. Conditions here are rough, so we'll take whatever we can get. Night watch is the worst. They say there are trained killers out there, but then there are trained killers in here too. The result is they don't give us much trouble. So, in the absence of attack, you just find yourself fighting the cold and the boredom. No offence to Severus here. We've both been paid today, so when we knock off here, we're going out in the town. That's our stomping ground. Great local spot set up to entertain us soldiers. Shops, bathhouses, taverns, with trade, beer, a great grub. But for now, I'm stuck here, on night watch, with Severus.
Very little can be seen of the wall beneath us. Upon this spot once stood the heavily defended fort of Isaaca. In the years since the fall of the Empire, stone from the fort and the nearby wall was scavenged to build castles, churches, field walls, and farmhouses. The fort's faded remains mark the halfway point of our journey. Visible, and we can clearly see one of the many mile castles that line the route. This one would have been manned by 10 or more soldiers at any one time. Activity on the frontier wasn't limited to the wall itself. Just to the south of the border, we can see the remains of a number of other vital sites, including Haltwhistle-Burn Fortlet. This modest garrison, with its stores, barracks, and headquarters building, once guarded the original Staingate frontier, the line that marked the boundary before the wall itself was built. To the east of Haltwhistle, you can see the outline of the temporary camps used to house the legionary stonemasons who built the wall in the mid-AD 120s. This was an 8-year undertaking and required a sizable workforce. The Roman workforce would then have begun work on what you see beneath us. This is a valley, a deep ditch to the south of the wall, which helped to keep intruders and thieves out of the military areas. Returning to the line of the wall itself and flying east, we reach a more rugged section of the frontier. Over to your right, you'll see a white marker placed to signify the highest point of the whole wall at 345 meters. This is the most dramatic section of the wall, as the landscape rises up to form an impassable barrier. A potential attacker from the north would have little hope of storming such a well-protected position. However, these heights were a disadvantage for some, as the unfortunate Roman builders would have had a long, hard job hauling the materials up to the top of these daunting peaks. Down below is one of the best preserved mile castles on the wall. And hidden here, between the mighty crags, rests the iconic Sycamore Gap. Soldier, life on the wall wasn't all work. The favorite off-duty pursuit of the commanders here was hunting.
It was in my second year of service on the wall that I truly earned the respect of my comrades and my commander. He was the fastest stag in the forest. We hunted him for 6 days. I was the lead scout. I tracked the beast. And all it took was a single bolt from a single bow. Our Syrian archer here has come from halfway across the world to get his piece of the action. That's how the Empire works. The best of the rest. They'll be smoked for weeks. But the commander's happy. The stag is heading to his dinner table, and that means we're heading to Vindolanda.
Seven miles to the east of Magna lay the magnificent site of Vindolanda. This huge fortification would have been a vibrant hub of activity out here on the wall. The main fort gates were to the north and west. 600 soldiers, consisting of 480 infantry and 120 cavalry, would have been housed here. The commander's residence on our far left was a focal point of Vindolanda. Positioned next door was the headquarters building, housing the Chapel of Standards. It was well guarded because inside was the sunken strong room containing the soldiers' pay and savings. Outside the fort was a small town, or vicus as we called it. Here there was a bathhouse with hot and cold rooms, as well as a tavern, shops and other houses. Soldiers, civilians, slaves, merchants and craftsmen would have enjoyed these facilities. The vicus formed the vital support network that a fort as big as Vindolanda required. Vindolanda site is one of breathtaking archaeological interest. There were at least 9 forts at Vindolanda. The remains you see today are of the 3rd and 4th century stone fort. Since the 1970s, archaeologists here have been uncovering writing tablets, documents from the front line left discarded here by the Romans. There could be letters, military lists, accounts, or even quotes from the classics. These ink on wood tablets, similar in size and thickness to a modern postcard, give real-life testimonies of life on the wall and offer modern visitors a genuine insight into experiences from nearly 2,000 years ago.
spent time at the wall. We've trained so hard but seen barely any action. Transporting soldier wages to the northern outpost is the most we've had for weeks. Could it be that the wall was so successful in its purpose, so formidable, that no foe would dare mount a true attack against us? I shouldn't have worried. Now this